So firstly, we're going to take up the history of blockchain. Introduction and history. What is it about and how did we get from there to here? But first, a question. How many of you here have actually heard of or have experienced blockchain technology? Can I see a show of hands or reactions? Wala agad. You're supposed to be in tech, right? We're supposed to be updated on the things that are going on in our industry. Cool, cool, cool. Anyone else? Nice. I see a few people, very few. Out of how many participants are we here? 80, 90? Only a few have heard of the technology so far or have even experienced it. Right. So it looks like I have a lot of work. I have a lot of work in front of me. But this is actually a good thing, since educating people regarding blockchain technology and its benefits is part of our advocacy and our mission. So what is blockchain? In simple terms, based on the name itself, a blockchain is cryptographically secured chain of blocks, literally a chain of blocks. It operates on the concept of a distributed ledger. Now, which brings us to the question, what is a distributed ledger? So the terms just keep on getting more complicated, don't they? Let's put it into pictures. So to explain it in 1,000 words, a distributed ledger is a database, basically, that is synchronized and accessible across different sites and geographies by multiple participants. If we have been used to having a centralized ledger where there is a central authority or governing figure, distributed, on the other hand, is, well, as the name suggests, distributed. So blockchain technology is only one type of distributed ledger. Note that not all distributed ledgers are blockchains, and the difference lies in how the information is stored in both. If this is still quite confusing, let's try the next image. I'm sure you're more familiar with this one. We deal with server-based technology in our classes and our programming classes, don't we? Diba? We have networking classes here, right? And I'm sure you have discussed what server-based architecture is and what P2P networks are, or peer-to-peer networks. Now, question, has anybody used a peer-to-peer network or peer-to-peer applications? Nice. This is going to be an interactive webinar. I'll be asking a lot of questions as well, because I want to see how, well, how updated you guys are in terms of technology. And well, this is going to be our future. So I need to know how up to date you are too. So anybody else that has ever used a peer-to-peer application? Oh, yes, they are. And I'm getting to that. This one. Are you familiar with this application or this logo? Anybody give me the answer on what this is? Right, this is Napster. This was a pioneer in peer-to-peer file sharing. Unfortunately, they got sued by Metallica and had to stop operations, but they paved the way for other applications such as this one. Who was able to infect their family computer with viruses by using this application? Anybody else? Oh, there we go. So it adds to our learning that we need to take care of our own computers and not just copy files from everybody. How about this one? I'm sure you recognize what this is. It's almost always used with this website. Don't be shy. I'm sure at least one time in our lives we'll be able to visit this website. So all these apps, Napster, LimeWire, and uTorrent, operate on the same concepts of peer-to-peer networking. The more people there are on the network that have a copy of the files that you're trying to get, the faster the file sharing becomes. Of course, we are the ones that are keeping it alive, despite the fact that they've been tried, well, tried in court several times. It just comes back up again. Now, all of these examples should at least give you an idea of how blockchain technology works. Now, let's take a look at how the technology came about. In 1991, a cryptographically secured chain of blocks is described for the first time by Stuart Haber and W. Scott Sternera. In 1998, a computer scientist by the name of Nick Szabo works on BitGold. This is a form of decentralized digital currency. We are slowly getting to the point where blockchain and Bitcoin have come about. In the year 2000, Stefan Konst publishes his theory of cryptographic secured chains, plus his ideas for implementation of such a technology. 8 years after, in 2008, a developer or a group of developers, because it's not really known, working under the pseudonym of Satoshi Nakamoto, released a white paper establishing the model for a blockchain. This is the beginning of Bitcoin. And then in 2009, Nakamoto implements the first blockchain as the public ledger for transactions made using Bitcoin. In 2014, the technology is separated from the currency and its potential for other financial inter-organizational transactions is explored. Then later that year, or later a few years after that, Blockchain 2.0 is born, referring to applications beyond cryptocurrency. So aside from the fact that Bitcoin is a digital currency, more and more practical applications of the technology has been explored. And this also gave birth to Ethereum, a different blockchain which introduces computer programming into blocks representing financial instruments such as bonds, and these become known as smart contracts. So take note of these terms, the blockchain and a smart contract. If you want to know how Bitcoin was presented, this is Bitcoin's white paper. It's essentially a research document, and you can easily Google this. So the developer's thesis behind Bitcoin is to create a peer-to-peer electronic cash system without a centralized governing body, using a proof-of-work algorithm to validate transactions. So this is the abstract. This is just a short description of the overall study. So basically, PCS mo na siya class. Oh, sorry. I keep remembering you as my class. Now, this is what Bitcoin was imagined to be. This is a simple illustration of what a blockchain is composed of. Each new block references the previous one, and each node or participant on the network has a copy of the entire blockchain. So every time a transaction is made, a new block is added, and then it gets validated or verified by the entire network. So the more transactions there are, the longer it takes for the transaction to be validated. That's why it gets harder and harder to mine or create new Bitcoins. If this is too simple, the insides of a block actually look something more like this. It's composed of several blocks of data or parts of data that all contribute to the security and validation of the transaction. So each page in the distributed ledger of transactions forms a block. You can start with this one, block N, or your first block, the Genesis block. Then you move on, and next block and next block. And this block has an impact on the next block through cryptographic hashing. In other words, when a block is completed, it creates a unique and secure code, which is then tied to the next block, creating a series or a chain of blocks. Hence, blockchain. Now, in the case of Bitcoin, the workers or the people that validate these transactions, they are called miners. They are rewarded with Bitcoins for their work in solving these highly complex computing puzzles. So the miners deploy computers, sometimes referred to as mining rigs, in order to solve the next hash, because this is essentially a competition among all the miners that are in the network to make sure that they are the first one to solve the hash and then get rewarded with Bitcoin. So if for those who have no idea what a mining rig looks like, it's something like this. All of this mining actually drove GPU prices skyrocketing. So if there for any gamers in here that have felt the scarcity of video cards, this is the reason why. If you've been tracking the prices of GPUs or video cards, they went from, they went up. Well, actually, they crashed naman. They went from 100% to 200% sometime last year. And then since the crash of the cryptocurrency market, the prices of GPUs have already started to go down as well. It's a cycle, so it might go up again. So if you have the money to buy a GPU right now, it's a good time to buy. This one is an ASIC miner. ASIC stands for Application Specific Integrated Circuit, or ASIC. Miners use these for most proof of work blockchains to get rewarded with cryptocurrencies. Take note that Bitcoin is not blockchain. Blockchain is the underlying data structure, which can be used for many things, while Bitcoin is just a cryptocurrency, which is the byproduct or the end product of the blockchain. This is Ethereum's white paper. Its goal is to create a platform for decentralized applications, or what they call DApps. True. We'll get to that later, especially with the Ponzi schemes and the scams. Of course, it also has its own cryptocurrency, which is called Ether. So you see, there is more than one blockchain and not just Bitcoins. Which brings us to chapter 2, types of blockchains. We have 4 main types of blockchain technology. We have public, private, hybrid, and the consortium. So the public is permissionless, or meaning it does not need permission. Anyone is allowed to join and participate in the consensus. It is fully decentralized. It has a secured and immutable or unchangeable ledger system. The transactions are anonymous, but also transparent to everyone. They might not know who did the transaction, but everybody will know that the transaction actually took place. A private blockchain is permissioned as opposed to public. In this case, a single organization has the authority over the entire network. It is faster in output, it is more power efficient, and of course, offers privacy. It has a simpler or simplified data handling process because it's not open to everyone. Only those allowed by the governing body can participate in the network. And then we have hybrid. There is authoritative access, and only certain elements are private. There is flexible control over what data is public and then what data is private. It is similar to public, where it is decentralized and it is highly scalable. Lastly, we have the consortium. It's a consortium because multiple organizations have influence or authority over the network. It is similarly decentralized. It is fast and scalable as well. Network regulations are in charge of preserving security and privacy in a consortium. So let's put that in pictures to make it easier to understand. So you have your public, which is permissionless. And on the other hand, you have private and consortium that are permissioned. And in the middle, we have the hybrid that mix up the best of both worlds. Further simplify, or to really show the differences between these four types, here's a table for a quick overview of each type's advantages, disadvantages, and potential use cases. The first one, the public, is actually the goal of blockchain technology, or its essence, because they want blockchain to be without a central figure, decentralized. That is the main goal of blockchain technology, or that is their advocacy. There should be no authority over it because it is a democracy of all the participants of the network. So you have independence, transparency, and of course, there should be trust. I think I messed up the disadvantages here. These are the disadvantages of the public blockchain. Sorry for that. In private, you have access control and performance, but the disadvantage is trust because you might not be able to make sure. Yeah, I think I copy pasted it and forgot to change it. Sorry about that. So in private, you might not be able to trust the ones who are in control of the network. So that's a disadvantage on that part. The use cases for public are, of course, cryptocurrency, money transfer, document validation, because everybody can be sure that the documents available in the blockchain is actually owned by somebody else. So the examples of this are, of course, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then Litecoin. As for the others, we have Ripple, Hyperledger, IBM, and Corda. So now that we know a little bit of the technology, it brings us to the question, how and where can we actually use it? Any ideas? May nag-thesis di blockchain, wala? Why good no? Dang. Sige lang. Nobody took blockchain for a thesis? Yeah, Binance is an example. That's an exchange. We'll also get to that later. Sige. The features of blockchain technology is that it's immutable, meaning validated records are irreversible and cannot be changed. Hindi na siya maislan. You can't reverse them unless you create a different transaction, because the transaction is being validated and checked by everyone in the network. So once you create a change or initiate a change, it has to go through the entire network again for that transaction to be final. So imagine the cost of the transaction if there is already a huge network. Diba? It is decentralized. There is no central authority or governing body, meaning everybody who is a member of the network has a say in how the network is going to be run. There is a certain governance between all the users of the network. There is enhanced security since all the records are individually encrypted. So if you hear about blockchains getting hacked, it might not actually be the blockchain itself or the network itself that was compromised, but rather users or the accounts of users within the system. There is a consensus. Network participants agree to the validity of each of the records because they process it and they all validate it and verify that it is indeed true. Possible applications are finance, real estate, government. The technology can be applied to any of these industries. And for the early years of blockchain technology, these were the obvious applications of the technology, especially for finance. Imagine being able to remit money from abroad to your home country without the need for middleman. So Subong, if you want to send money overseas, what should we use? What are the institutions that we can use or applications? We need to go through banks, PayPal, what else? Zoom or Western Union? And what are the disadvantages of those applications or institutions? They take a cut, and not a small cut at that, diba? Most of the time, the cuts are big, the fees are huge, and yes, there are also delays. And also, sometimes, the way to validate the transaction is difficult for people who don't have banks. So that is actually also one of the reasons why Bitcoin was created in order to solve these problems. In real estate, we can have smart contracts, meaning the agreements between buyer and seller or whoever wants to participate in the transaction can be governed automatically by the system without the need for a third party. We can store property and ownership information in the blockchain or property purchases. And then everybody can see that this piece of land or building or asset is actually owned by somebody within the network. Who has any idea how real estate works? Nice. What do you sell? You have, what proves your ownership of the property? You have a title, and that title comes in the form of, yes, it comes in the form of paper. Well, even in the Philippines, it's still a piece of paper. And then that piece of paper, if it gets lost, what happens to your property? How do you prove that you still own it? And this actually happened. This actually happened. During the Great Flood of 2008, a lot of people lost their titles and properties, and some of them are of properties that are so old that there are no other copies aside the ones that they have. So it was very difficult for them to prove that they own the property. Yeah, it's actually the registry of deeds. And if it is available, if it's not, well, it also happened that some people were able to fake titles and gain access to somebody else's property because they were able to provide a better copy than whatever was in there. So these are things that can be solved by having a technology that there is a copy that cannot be changed by just anybody. Yeah? In government, imagine if we have digitized IDs and records, taxation, security and safety, legislation records, legal enforcement, and again, titles and deeds. You won't need to request for your birth certificate every time it is needed because it's on the network. You won't need to have a valid ID proving that you are you because your ID or other supporting documents would also be on the blockchain network. It only takes a little bit more of a push in the political side of things to have this technology adopted in the mainstream. And that is one of our advocacies, so that we can help people understand that the technology itself is useful and practical, rather than the stigma that, well, since this is a complicated technology, it might be a scam, which I'm sure is also the first impression of most people. So aside from these applications, recently, new applications and markets have emerged as more and more people go into blockchain development. This is public.com, PUBLC.com. It's a Web3 search engine. Web3, yeah, Web3. Is anybody aware of what Web3 is? Did you actually know that there's a Web3? Yeah, because I sent the link to you. Did you even, do you guys know that there's Web 1 and Web 2? Well, what happened to Web 1 and Web 2? Web 1 is the basic web. It was built on HTML. So if the first web was simply getting information from what's posted online, that's Web 1. Web 2 is built on HTML and scripting languages. And it makes Web 2 interactive. That's where we started using databases, forms, and asking or getting information or interacting with the users. The users can post content and share, well, content, which brings us to social media. Web 3, on the other hand, is built on blockchain. So what's the difference between Web 3 and Web 2? Aside from being interactive, it allows users to own their own content. So public is just one of the many Web 3 platforms that are being built. Damo pa na sila, class. Public allows its users to get rewards in the form of cryptocurrency, which is based on the platform's terms of use and reward system. So in public, publishers or content creators receive public's tokens when users click on and view their posts. Like this one. So far, there are only two pieces of content. These are videos. Actually, this is our page. We only have submitted 2 videos, and then there are only 27 clicks so far. But those 27 clicks have earned us this much in tokens and this much in dollars. So imagine later on, if there are more people using the platform and we earn more tokens, this value will definitely change. Diba? If you're interested in this, let me know. We are working with Public's community manager and CEO to help bring blockchain and cryptocurrency to the mainstream. How about this one? Do you guys recognize these images? These are still applications of the blockchain technology. Yes, these are NFTs. Ano na sila? Which NFTs are these? This is probably one of the first ones. These are CryptoPunks. CryptoPunks. No punk is the same. There are what, 10,000 of these? And no punk is the same. You wouldn't download an NFT. How about this one? Bored apes. How much is one bored ape worth? Yeah, you. Also, for those who have still no idea what these are, how about this one? This is probably the most popular NFT game. right? Because it really boomed at the time of the pandemic. It helped a lot of people earn a lot of money. But, well, ever since the crash, is still anybody playing the game? Are there still players here? Oh, kapit lang. Yes, all of these are NFTs and NFT games. This is the latest hype that made people a lot of money, but also made a lot of them lose a lot of money. So again, even though this has helped bring blockchain to the mainstream, it still propagates the idea that it's a scam because people lost money to this, right? So we know what NFTs are, or we know so far what we've seen. But what exactly is an NFT, and what does it have to do with blockchain technology? So for those who were playing the game, did you play the game because of the tech or because you wanted to earn? Mostly earn. Oh, both. Nice, nice, nice. So what ideas do you have about NFTs? Did you consider creating an NFT for your thesis? Access went from $165 to $13. What a massive drop. So NFTs stands for, what does NFT stand for? Non-fungible tokens. They can't be funged, or they can't be fungi. They are generally created using the same type of programming or coding that is used for cryptocurrencies, meaning they are cryptographic assets based on blockchain technology. Are NFTs limited to images or games? That's correct. That's correct. NFTs can also be songs, or actually, they can be anything. So in simpler terms, most people would think of NFTs as, yep, it was sold for a lot too. In simple terms, you can think of them as modern day collectibles. They are bought and sold online. There are galleries and marketplaces, but they are supposed to represent a digital proof of ownership of any given item. It's a token. It's a token. Tokens are representations. And the value of that item is supposed to have, ang values ng NFT is also supposed to be along with whatever it is representing. And its value is based on the fact that an NFT can only have one owner at a time. And then using blockchain technology, this can be easily verified. And so you're right, NFTs are not limited to art or images, because as tokens, they can represent anything in the real world. So that's why I can also have songs. What else? What else can we represent with NFTs? What else can we represent with NFTs? Yes, exactly. Real world properties. That's actually one of the projects that we're thinking of putting up. Assets, title deeds, access, a membership card. That's because actual artworks. That's because, like these ones, the Bored Apes, these are more than just images. The owners of Bored Ape NFTs are considered members of the Bored Ape Yacht Club. So it's actually a rich guy's club, much like a membership card, which is only a lot weirder. Yeah, exactly. But then you do. Members gain access to exclusive perks such as private online spaces, merchandise, and access to members only events. It's the same as having a physical card, only that this time you can show it to everybody else. You can also show it that you got scammed when the price drops. Yeah? So the value, ouch. So the value of these NFT images are tied to the real world utility and value they are able to provide. So imagine just for for an exclusive membership, are you willing to buy it for 12 ETH? Maybe when the price is low, but if it's at an all-time high, no, it's the time to sell. But then again, most people are not aware of how the price actually moves, diba? So that's why they think it's a scam. They think that the price will only go up. They don't realize it can also go down. How about comic books? People have been collecting comic books for the longest time, not actually knowing if the value of such a comic book is going to go up. Or toys. How about toys? We collect toys as well, right? The ones that are, or Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, the ones that you don't remove from the box, making sure that they are always in mint condition. So do note that not all NFTs have uses outside of being a collectible or, items used for speculation, hoping that the values will go up. So it's the same thing for Pokemon cards or Yu-Gi-Oh cards. We're not sure if people will still play them in the years to come. So we're not sure if the value would go up, right? But how about Magic cards? Anybody play Magic cards? I should have kept my rare cards back in high school. Man. Yeah, sayang. So unless your NFTs have actual real world use, don't expect too much. Don't expect too much that you'll earn a lot. It's not like somebody is going to pay you millions for a picture or your selfies. Unless of course you're this guy. He's an Indonesian animation student who earned $1 million from NFT selfies in just 4 days. I don't know. Sometimes things just don't make sense. People are weird. And people that buy these things are also weird. But then again, he was able to capitalize on the hype and make something out of it. Diba? Now, we're approaching the exciting part, chapter 4, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Well, it was 4 years because he took pictures from when he was 18 to 22 years old. But of course, he had to time it that the hype with NFTs is at an all-time high so that he can capitalize on it. Right, so remember that Bitcoin was intended to be used for peer-to-peer electronic cash? This is a timeline of its value over the years. Since its inception, blockchain and Bitcoin have spawned other projects, each with their own cryptocurrencies. Hence, as somebody mentioned earlier, they're called altcoins or alternate coins. They are alternates to Bitcoin. So if you see here in 2010, Bitcoin started in 0.09, not even $1. But last year, it reached its all-time high in the 69,000s of dollars. So if you're able to buy somewhere around here, 2010, 2012, or even here, 2014, 2015, or even here in 2018 and 2019, just before the pandemic, Yep, exactly. Buy somewhere around here in the past and then sell it in 2021. And then when it goes down again this year, buy again. But, it wasn't always the case. It wasn't always the case. It had to start somewhere. Now, here's the story of two pizzas. Would you say that this is an expensive pizza? $12,000. Sure, it's overpriced. Well, it's gold and diamond, but you can't even eat diamond. It's true. It looks horrible. Wait lang, wait lang. Excuse me. All right, sorry for that. Okay, I'm back. So this is an expensive pizza, right? How about this one? They don't have gold, they don't have diamonds. Would you say these are expensive pizzas? That's because you know the story. This sold for 10,000 Bitcoin. So when people first started going to cryptocurrency more than a decade ago, they were most likely, well, happy to see that their investments were going up. But a lot of people held onto their coins in the hope that they would continue to go up and up. A guy named Laszlo was eager to make his first, real world purchase. And he bought two pizzas from Papa John's. So in May 22, 2010, he used 10,000 Bitcoin to pay for his order. It was worth $41 at the time. So fast forward 11 years, his $41 would be $630 million now. So is this an expensive pizza? We can only say that now because the way that Bitcoin grew. But if it went the other way around, it won't be, right? So some of us may feel sorry for him, but at that time, who would have known that Bitcoin would, blow up the way it is? And who knows, if this guy did not use his Bitcoin the way he did to show that it can be used in the real world, maybe it won't be the way it is now. And things could go the opposite way. And besides, based on articles written about him, he does not regret what he did or what happened to him. And also, we get to celebrate this every year on May 22. Happy Bitcoin Pizza Day. Anybody familiar with this screen? What website is this? This is, no, it's not actually Binance. It's CoinMarketCap. CoinMarketCap shows the market capitalization of cryptocurrencies. These fluctuate wildly as crypto is such a volatile space. People use websites like this, to help them determine which projects to invest in and, hopefully earn big. It's going up right now. Yesterday, Bitcoin was at 22. and then it hit 24 last night, and then it's going down again. It's 23. It's a market cycle. It's been there for several months now. Dogecoin is always at the top 10. And that's a meme coin. It's not even a legit project. It's Elon Musk that, pumps the price. Or how about this one? Are you guys familiar with this? This is TradingView. It's a website that shows the price movement, traded volume, and other important information regarding the status of cryptocurrencies, stocks, and even foreign exchange. Skilled traders are able to analyze where the market is going and be able to, predict or forecast or just guess where the market is going in order to make the appropriate actions and hopefully earn big. But unfortunately, trading takes a lot of time. Yes, ang basic lang. Wala pa ka di RSI eh. Trading takes a lot of time, patience, and skill. So, make sure you have plenty of them before you start. Otherwise, you're just bound to lose. And then the highly volatile nature of cryptocurrencies is what attracts the risk-taking traders and investors, but it also drives away the risk-averse. And since the space is unregulated, governments and people are, divided as to its adoption and use. Some governments ban it altogether completely, while others embrace it, like Venezuela. While some, like the Philippines, are still unsure, somewhere in the middle. To date, Bitcoin is still the leading cryptocurrency in terms of market capitalization, and that does not seem likely to change anytime soon. It's always been number one, Bitcoin. Anybody know how many Bitcoins there are? We'll never know. We'll never know. Some people are saying that Bitcoin can reach 100,000, but who knows when that might happen, if it does happen. Yep, it's the mother coin. Everything is based on the value of Bitcoin. So when the value drops, most likely the altcoins will also drop. But there are times that the altcoins go up instead of down. So like I said, it's really hard to predict how things are going to happen. Chapter 5. We've learned a lot already, but there's still a few more to go. Learning blockchain. So if you don't feel like you'll make it much or make it rich as a trader, you can still do it by being a developer. So the more value you're able to provide or bring to the space with the technology that you create, wealth will be sure to follow. But how do we get there? You will need the following skills. Understanding the technology. That's why we have this webinar. Proficiency in a high-level programming language. How many of you here can say that you have this, number 2, proficiency in a high-level programming language? Getting there? Hopefully. 3, cryptography. 4, experience in distributed systems and peer-to-peer networking. uTorrent does not count. And then number 5 is knowledge of smart contracts. So number 1 is a given. You can't exactly expect to be a good developer of a given tech if you don't even understand it in the first place. Can you guess what programming language was used to create Bitcoin? That's right. It was made using C++. So even though it was an old language, it's still a good idea to be a top-level coder in one or more of the general purpose languages. Balik na ng C++ sa CCS. And the security provided by blockchain comes from cryptography. So it's a good idea to be skilled in this because, just as developers are trying to secure their programs, their systems, there will always be those who will work to break them open. So as technology and business evolve, more security will be needed to make sure that you have this skill set. Number 4, blockchain is distributed. So the more you know about creating distributed systems, the better it is. And smart contracts are self-executing contracts with the terms of agreement between the parties written into the code itself. So what you need is a good understanding of automation. If you have problems making sense of your conditional and loop statements in programming, better start reviewing your basics. Because logic and analysis is highly needed in being a Bitcoin developer or a blockchain developer. You will be working with large amounts of data. So having good analytical skills will always be a plus if you want to analyze trends and forecast movements. This skill is especially useful when you get into cryptocurrency. And lastly, blockchain is essentially a data structure based on cryptography. And since you're developing something autonomous, you will be using several algorithms to ensure that your blockchain works as expected. So, kamusta naman ang grades niyo sa data struct? You can always go back to it when you graduate. On the left, we have our popular general purpose programming languages. On the right, we have specific languages to blockchain development, such as Solidity and Viper, that were created to program smart contracts running on the Ethereum blockchain. So if you want to be a blockchain developer, be good in at least one or more of these languages. If you want to check out Bitcoin source code, you can find it in GitHub. It's open source. You can create your own Bitcoin. You can create your own blockchain even. So if anybody's interested, here you go. Chapter 6, challenges to Bitcoin technology and its future. So when you first heard of blockchain and or Bitcoin, what was the first thing that comes to mind? What is the first thing that comes to mind? Or when most people hear of blockchain and Bitcoin, what is usually the first thing that they remember or they think of? BitConnect. Yeah. Usually, people think that Bitcoin or blockchain are exactly things that are used by criminals or they're scams. And that's a challenge there because no technology is without challenges and blockchain is not an exception. That's why we have things like this, webinars, and to raise awareness that the technology itself is just a tool to achieve an end, a means to an end. And most of the time, people are using it to scam because, well, it's complicated. One of the biggest challenges of blockchain adoption is that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies have a huge impact on the environment. This is due to its huge power consumption. And that's why some projects are looking at ways to counter this. And they're promoting green technology as their unique value proposition. Oh, ano ito? Scammers and scam coins. These are the guys that make it difficult for mass adoption to happen, because most people think that there is no real world application or use for cryptocurrency aside from scamming people. Oh, crime, the dark web. They're using it for drugs and whatever illegal things, or money laundering. But then again, the same can be said for actual fiat currency, diba? Criminals are using cash so that there is no paper trail. There is no audit. But it is what it is. Because it's easier to hit on something that you don't understand rather than what is already there. That can be said for anything, actually, even stocks and foreign exchange. Only invest on what you can afford to lose. And also, DYOR, which stands for do your own research. This is not financial advice. Those are the things that you hear when you enter into the crypto space. But then there are other variants of that. For example, if you are into food supplements, you would see there are no diba? May mga disclaimers, especially when people don't understand things like that. They do. They are supposed to. They are legally required to say that. Do your own research, and this is not financial advice. You cannot guarantee anything. So if you hear people saying that you invest in us and we will guarantee you double your money, triple your money, or this X percentage every month, run away fast. It's a scam, most likely. If it sounds too good to be true, it most likely is. So what we want to do is to bring focus to the value of the technology rather than how it is being used to do, well, all these bad things. Regulation. This is related to all the other challenges that we faced before. Cryptocurrency is already facing a lot of suspicion and pushback from regulators and lawmakers due to its volatile nature. And the fact that due to its complex and complicated nature, scammers use it as a way to take advantage of people. It's like saying, it's too complicated, just trust me, I will make your money back 300%. And a lot of people fall for that. So part of our advocacy is to tell people how to spot, scams. Thankfully, the Philippines is slowly adopting to the technology. So now we're seeing adoption and initiatives like this. It was in the news a few weeks ago. And then recently, Globe and Coins.ph are working together to allow users to redeem crypto by Coins.ph. Although medyo masakit-sakit lang ang fees ni Coins, but it is one of the few conversions or apps that we can use to actually convert crypto. And hopefully it picks up so that we can see more applications in the years to come. And then finally, time for our final thoughts as we reach the end of this webinar. This was us in 2018. We were a team from CCS who joined the Union Bank Hackathon. The team was made of myself and our teammates, my teammates Nerio, Valeriano, Rutherford Marmibe, and Ralph Alquisada. They've already graduated a few years ago. Our concept was a blockchain for cooperatives. We wanted to help improve the financial situations of those unreached by traditional banking institutions. Well, it's just too bad now we didn't win, but it paved the way for other collaborations and other opportunities as well. The idea was picked up by Ralph, and he used it for their thesis that year. Rutherford joined NASA's hackathon, which they won. Congratulations. And then last year, Nerio and I joined the Philippine Startup Challenge, and we made it to the nationals. The idea this time that we used, and is also the product of Insight Blockchain Solutions, our current company, we created a trading bot or a program that automatically buys and sells crypto, which I mentioned at the start of this webinar. The three of us in this team are from CPU. Si Angelo is from software engineering. Nerio and I are from CCS. Tapos si Charles is from a different college, a different university altogether. And this is what we are working on now. We are trying to create a ventures capital firm. We're calling it Block Ventures. And we have a long way ahead of us. Dugani class, Dugani guys, this is aimed towards a project of several years. It's going to be a long journey, and we're hoping that we can take you guys on board with us. So if anybody wants to be part of a blockchain project, hit me up and let's see what we can do from here.